Money. The game everyone plays, but few win. Extracting the knowledge from the top 1%. And teaching you the ever-changing rules of play. It's time to level up and take control of the money game.
Let's talk money.
Big money.
Yes! Welcome back to the Money Show. We've got an awesome technical guest on today, my man, Jeremy Lieber. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, we appreciate you giving us some time. I know the market's ripping, so this is precious hours, right?
That's right. Luckily, we do most of our stuff early in the morning, so I've been done for a while. But
well, we'll definitely dive into some of the strategies and things that you do. But for everybody listening, Jeremy's the owner and kind of founder and chief coach at Uncommon Education. He's a day trader, stock market aficionado. And so we're having him on today just because there's literally not a person in America, and I think this is what's so cool about the space you're in, and I like it. It's just it's so pertinent to every single person, whether they're just a W-2 worker, paying attention to how the retirement works and their industry and sector. There's so much that the everyday person should be at least giving a little bit of insight to the market. And obviously you're making, a full-time living playing the market. So
yep.
Just kind of a little backstory just for people, because I think people get into this space, I feel like typically they think Ivy League school and wealth management firms or whatever. How did you get involved into the trading space?
For sure. Really, I try to live my life and have built my life around what I have wanted out of life, meaning I'm a huge hobbyist. I love freedom. I love the ability to kind of just think outside the box, not be controlled, not be told what to do. That's just always been my personality, from growing up to when I attempted school, failed miserably. And so I didn't know how it was being done, but I knew that people who day traded had full autonomy of their schedule, of their life, and freedom. And so that was the starting point. Is I saw what the end result was and really just kind of started and didn't really care what it was going to take to get there. And cool. I know that's not how a lot of people think, but for me, I'm someone who I feel like is okay with a lot of different aspects of life. I'm just generally a pretty happy guy, pretty easygoing.
I've noticed that. It seems like there's always a pretty vibrant persona coming from you.
I try, man, and there's so much good in life. I mean, there's definitely hard things, but way more good. And yeah, by choosing to learn a skill that I feel like could help elevate that part of me, I didn't really care how long it was going to take. I didn't care what it was going to cost to get there. And so really it started by me loading up a trading account with $15,000, had no idea what I was doing or what was going on. And that's where I started.
Dude, real quick, I want to, you said something, it triggered a thought, because I think a lot of people, dude, myself included, right? You think trader, you think Wall Street, and you think kind of like either the kind of Rain Man, borderline autistic, like whiz kid, or like the crazy Ivy League Wall Street trader. You said failed school miserably. And obviously that doesn't necessarily determine any academic or IQ limits, but like, how do you then go and say, hey, like, this is a pretty to the world technical arena?
It is. And it's funny. I'm my entire life is based off of logic, right? I remember in high school, the day that they said, okay, we're learning about imaginary numbers, was the last day I ever took a math class. It was the last day I ever did a homework assignment. Cause I'm like, I'm not learning about fake
what
numbers.
Are we doing here?
That logically, I'm sorry. You lost me. I'm gone.
I love that, dude.
And so logically, if things make sense or I see direct correlation to like things that I want, I feel like I am very smart. I am very motivated, dedicated, borderline psychotic and obsessive about it. Yeah. And you kind of have to be, as you know, to be good at anything or become a master at anything. So for me, day trading, even though it is extremely technical, extremely uncommon, extremely kind of tucked away from the everyday person, I knew that there was so much logic to why I wanted to learn it that, again, I was able to dive in and learn it in a way that most people can't, where going to college, played football for a semester, my GPA, I had to have a 2.0 GPA. I got a 2.2 just so I could play that season.
Skimming.
After the season, I was like, screw this. This is ridiculous. I'm done. So that was the last of my schooling. But it's because there's no applicable reason for it. So yeah, 100% logic-based individual. There's a lot of good to that, a lot of bad, but that's where I was able to succeed in learning something like day trading while failing so miserably at school.
Well, no, I think that's good for people to hear, because unfortunately, I do think there are a lot of mainstream education platforms where it is like, hey, if you fail in this route, you're not good at anything that takes intellectual capacity. It's just not even like remotely true.
Right. No, it's 100%. I feel like, there's the what is it? The analogy. It's like, yeah, if you teach or if you judge a fish on how well he climbs a tree, he's going to think he's stupid his whole life. For me, it was like, dude, I was a fish that just didn't care. It's like, yeah, I don't care to swim. I don't care to do this. It's like, what do I want? It's like, no, I want to, I want to become a shark, or I want to fly, And so it's just like, I feel like so many people have unique personalities. So many people have different ways of thinking. I've always been outside the box type thinker. And it's just unfortunate that most of the systems today is trying to put people in these, 2 or 3 categories. And if you don't fit that, you're not going to succeed.
You're broken.
If you do go that route, you're going to be miserable your whole life,
Yeah. Well, dude, I completely agree with you on a lot of that. Obviously, first off, I'm outside the generic mainstream route as well.
For sure.
But I want to, just jump back in. I pulled you out of your story. You load 15,000 into an account. You're just like, do you hire a coach? I mean, you're just like, dude, I'm just gonna send play in the market.
Oh yeah, and I think my first trade, I put like half of the account into a trade. No understanding. As you can imagine, it did not go too well. And really, for 3 years, I just would take like sales commissions, dump them into the market, lose it all, try to get a little bit better. But it's funny, like over those 3 years, there was no real like sign that like I was getting better. Like from the outside looking in,
it would have been like gambling.
It would have been very easy to be like, bro, like you need to stop. Like, like you have no, but like in my mind, again, just the complete, just maybe ignorance, oblivion. I don't know. But I was just like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. And I didn't care if it was going to take me 10 years,
I want to ask you though, were you following someone on YouTube, podcast? Like, was there an exposure point where you were saying, because we see the same thing in my arena, right? Sales where guys fail, and they keep trying because they're at least exposed to enough people. They're like, hey, somebody out there is doing it. So it's real. I need to fill a gap. Were you following somebody, learning did you model someone? You were like, hey, there's actually people winning here. I just have to figure it out. Or were you just kind of blindly hopeful?
Yeah, it was kind of blindly hopeful. There was no like one person where it's like, my grandpa did it or my friend's dad, or, there was none of that. I mean, it was just like, okay, wealthiest people in the world, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, right? Mark Zuckerberg, they're playing the greatest wealth building machine. They're primarily building their wealth through the stock market, right? Yeah, real estate, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, stock market, right? So I was like, well, and I'm just like always the antagonist in the situation where it's like, okay, the government, people in power, they're all in the market. They don't teach this to people because I think school in a lot of ways is just an absolute scam, sham, whatever. So
I'm there with you, especially secondary.
They don't want you to learn about it because it is a freedom tool. It's because it's the way that you can get out of the cogs of the 9-to-5 life. It's a way that you don't have to go be an employee making $65,000 a year.
Separator.
And so that was such like a draw to it. It's like, yeah,
I like that.
You ain't fooling me. Like I know that this is actually something. But yeah, after 3 years of losing and, we're talking, around $60,000 lost in the market. I decided, you know what? All right, I need to give it the respect it deserves. I need to change some disciplines. I need to start seeking like someone who knows what they're doing. So just went like, as opposed to like starting to like foot off the gas, I just went pedal to the metal, right? I'm going to invest more money. I'm going to learn more. And that's where disciplines came in, started getting some profitable strategies, was able to figure a lot just out on my own, just from sheer time and repetition. You start to notice things, see things.
Yeah.
But it's funny, there was no noble purpose behind it. It was strictly, I'm a huge golfer and fly fisherman. And now, I mean, that's all I do. I just travel the world golfing and fly fishing.
I saw you playing San Hollow the other day. We gotta next time I'm down there. We gotta go hit it.
Oh, anytime, dude. I've got a place in St. George and remember at Bloomington down there. Yeah, I mean, I go to Vegas all the time. I'm in Vegas a couple times a month, so
That's dope.
it's a good place to little pit stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, after those 3 years, I started seeing success. There was no like light bulb moment.
Little by
Just
little.
1 month, I kind of looked back. I was like, oh dang, I made this much this month. Like, okay, let's try to do it again the next month. And then started continuing that route, all while still doing sales full time, managing teams.
Dang.
Eventually worked into a VP of sales role, which was awesome. And then Uncommon Education came about. I had friends like, dude, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I would literally record videos and have them Venmo me for like the videos, just so like ghetto, just podunk.
Some of the best stuff's built that way.
Oh yeah. It was like literally like I was like, yeah, I'll just Venmo request you each month so you can send it to me. I didn't even have like an automatic like payment system. It was so bad. And then crazy, dude. This was almost 3 years ago now, and word of mouth, and just all of a sudden social media, this, that, and now it's this huge thing, and we've helped so many people experience what I was able to experience from a freedom aspect. We have so many guys who've transitioned into it full time.
That's cool.
People who are working less. It's pretty cool,
dude. That is a super cool story. I know that there's some people listening right now, and I can see the gears turning because I've been in the same position, years and years and years ago. And I think this is the purpose of the podcast. Obviously, now you're building a business. Clearly, people are learning from you. So I want to spend some time digging into a little bit about this thing that everybody has a million questions about. So
Cool.
if you could just for people kind of break down, dude, what even is a stock? I know that sounds like so redundant, but I think if you ask like 99, a room of 100 people, like 99 couldn't even really tell you like what a stock is and what trading even means.
for sure. So there's if you Google or try to YouTube, I mean, there is so much information. It's chaotic. It is absolute chaos. And that was actually a huge reason why I started Uncommon Education, was to organize the chaos and have like a landing place for people to say, hey, I want to learn, but I have no idea where to start, because that's how I was. And I saw these other groups out there. I was like, dude, these guys are no good. They're way too like posh, way too technical, way too this. I'm like, I'm a simple guy. I feel like people
Wall
can relate
Streety.
to me.
Yeah.
And so the reality is day trading. If you download Robinhood, a lot of you probably have Robinhood download on your phone, or different stockbroker apps. To purchase a share of a stock is owning a share in a company. So let's use Tesla as an example. Everyone knows what Tesla is. Yeah. Tesla is trading right around $190 a share, which means you can purchase a share of Tesla for $190. And what most people do in the stock market, they hold on to that share and you just hope that it goes up, right? Based on the company performing well, growing, expanding. And what they do is they offer, the ability to purchase shares in the company to provide money and, ways for the company to continue to grow and build, right? Yeah. You're investing in the company because you believe the company is going to succeed, right? What day trading is, and there's many different forms of trading. What I do and what we teach at Uncommon Education is called trading stock options, which is essentially a way that you can trade a stock with less money and have it essentially mean more, in the sense that smaller moves in the market, you can make more money, but you can also lose more if it goes against you. It's just a way for investors, another way to invest in the stock. There's tons of different ways to day trade, but all we are doing is we are getting into a trade and out of the trade within the same day, right? And what I teach, and the way that we do it, it's just within the first hour of the morning. And so unlike long-term investors where, maybe you buy some stock in Apple and you hold on to it for 5-7 years, I am trading these big name stocks, but we are getting in and out using stock options 30-45 minutes each morning, and done for the day, shut down the computer, go on about our lives. And so that in essence is what day trading is. It's
and so you're mostly doing
the same day
options for that to control larger contracts, right?
And for those who are wondering why options, because there's many different ways. There's Forex, there's futures, obviously there's the cryptocurrency market. What's great about options is it requires very little capital. So like the barrier of entry to get involved is super small, right? You can have $500 and realistically start to see 50 to 75, even $100 profit days consistently with a $500 trading account, which is pretty remarkable considering the amount of money that you're using for it.
Yeah, 'cause you're technically controlling the right, for a lot of people listening, right? The right to buy an X quantity of shares.
Exactly. It's essentially a way to leverage the stock, right? Because again, if I bought $192 one share of Tesla for $192, it is going to, if it goes up $2, I make $2, right?
Yep.
And that's the right. But trading options, if I spend $192 on stock options for Tesla, that $2 move might get me a 40% return on that $192 I made. So, it's a difference between $90 as opposed to $2. Now, if Tesla drops $2, I would only lose $2. And in the scenario with the options, I would lose $90. So there is inherent risk with trading stock options. And so that's where you have to have extreme discipline and some really, long proven data-driven strategies that can, over the course of weeks, week to week, month to month, continue to be profitable over time. And that's what we have in Uncommon. That's where I spent $60,000 in 3 years of learning to develop these strategies to where now we're able to help people implement those into the market, which is pretty cool.
That's sick. That's way sick. I know there's a lot of people. I talk to people every day. I know you do too, right? They get into sales, start making money. They want to do different investments. Even just the word option, the word trade, all these things are kind of like, sometimes they fly over the head. And so I'm sure you feel the same way, but I'm definitely in this boat. Like, guys, if there's anything that Jeremy is saying right now, option, like, go hit YouTube. Like, don't like let this conversation pass you by and just say like, this isn't for me. I don't understand. Tap into some of the stuff that Jeremy does on his social media, but like this stuff is important to learn. Understanding, I think, in my opinion, all of the different levels of the market, real estate, option stocks, private equity, all these different things you can do in business helps you like perform better in your space.
100%. And I just tell people too, who like take our courses, we have different things. On Instagram, we're Uncommon Education Trading. That's where all our stuff is. But even if you don't end up trading, going through and learning how to make money based on where the market's at is a skill that you should have. When COVID hit, when we trade, options, one of the cool things we're able to do is what's called short sell the market, where we can bet against the stock, like a stock. And so if we believe it's going to go down, we can actually be making money as the stock is losing value. So COVID, right?
So could you explain that real quick? Because I know everybody has heard of a short, right?
Yeah.
But I think very, 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 99.9% of people have no idea what that actually means. They know you can bet, but like, how do you bet if you believe that something is going down and create a return?
Sure. So there's a yin and a yang. There's a plus and a minus to the market. Every time someone makes money in the market, someone else is losing money in the market, right? So as soon as I close a position for a loss, someone on the receiving end of that is making money. Or every time I make money, someone is losing. So if you can make money when the stock goes up, the only way you're able to do that is by taking money from people who believe the stock was going to go down, right? And so there's the two sides of it. Now, what's cool is our systems, it's all based on technical analysis, which just means there's market truths, right? There's certain scenarios where just like 1 + 1 will always equal 2. If these 3 or 4 things occur based on, the amount of people coming in, either buying or selling, certain levels where, buyers or sellers have been in the past, when these 3 or 4 things happen, the stock has to go in a certain direction, right? And again, that's where we, share and teach what these things are. So if we find and see that, hey, the stock is going to be dropping because of XYZ, we can enter a short position. And by doing so, as we're making money, as stocks drop in value, people who are, either long-term holding on to the position or they were believing that the stock's going to go up, that's how we're making money because they're losing and we're winning, right?
Yeah.
And so, when COVID happened, cruise, ship, cruise lines, airlines, right? Things like I remember Zoom, Peloton, obviously the Moderna, Pfizer, like those just exploded. And so just understanding how to enter and execute trades with basic risk management, you can know nothing about trading. You can do nothing else other than say, hey, Zoom is going to take off because everyone's going to be working at home, or Boeing Airlines is going to be dropped because airlines are parked, like no flights are happening, right? And just knowing that, you can create incredible wealth just by learning the skill set that, again, I genuinely believe the government, the world, they don't want you to know, because if everyone did know, no one would work and everyone would be free and no one would be an employee. That's the truth. That is 100% what I believe.
I would say I'm like 95% there with you. I definitely believe in a lot of intentional barriers to entry, but I also, I don't know, maybe it's just because I've trained enough people. I also just genuinely believe like there's just enough people that don't have genetically the like drive. Like they just have to follow orders and take a plan and just like play a route.
Yep, that's true.
So I mean, I think even if everyone had all the knowledge in the world, like we'd still have people who just want to do bare minimum.
That is true.
But I am completely with you that there is definitely intentional barriers of entry created.
Yeah, and you're right, and it's funny because I'm so not that person that it's hard for me to even like imagine that there are people, but there are, and there are people that like,
because I used to be in your boat, but like as I've trained and took so many candidates and I'm like, you just don't want more out of life. Like I don't get it. What do you mean?
You just don't got it.
you just like you could, you just won't. What?
Yeah. It's sad. It's a sad reality, but no, it's true.
It is what it is. Well, you said something, and I know most people probably didn't catch this, but you said most of your guys' trades based on technical analysis. I know a lot of things, more swing traders or long-term, there's a lot of fundamental analysis as well. Do you guys take into account fundamentals of, like who's running the company and big changes and things like that?
No. So what's funny is like the macroeconomics, right? So like, yeah, what they did as far as earnings go, or who's in charge of what, or market sentiment, we do not care. It is such a systematic style of trading where every morning we have a few setups that like we see pre-market that we like, but I don't know if I'm going long or short. I have no idea. It's simply reacting to these 3 or 4 things that occur, and then again knowing with some level of certainty that the stock is going to do this or that the stock is going to do that, and then following a game plan of take profit and risk management along the way. And so that's what's funny is people ask me all the time, like, how do you feel about, Google or this? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. By 8:30 in the morning, I'm done. I do not look at the market until the following morning when I'm looking for the next day's setups.
Interesting.
And again, this was by design, right? Because I don't want to care. I don't want to have to be in the know. Like I want to just get in, get out, go do my thing, go golf, go fish, go travel. And so it's very much intentional finding a way to do it where none of that mattered. It was just purely based on the technicals as opposed to the fundamentals. That's
cool. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, what the freak are technicals? What are some of the technical things? I know, obviously, I don't know if you're like a big John and Pete Nigerian guy. I know they're huge option traders.
Not really. It's so funny. What you'll come to find about me, and if any of you follow me, I don't even want to be recognized for it. Like people are like, dude, you should try. I'm like, dude. So we do these mastermind programs at Uncommon, and they're awesome. We're in the middle of one right now. It's basically like the personal mentorship. I walk you through. I basically like, yeah, you're gonna be a day trader. Just go through this with me. We have enough desire for these where we could do 1 a month. I only do 4 a year because I never want it to feel like a job. Right? Like
that's cool.
I care too much about my freedom, my time. So it's like, yeah, I have no desire to be on like the lists of people or the fastest growing companies or whatever. It's like, no, I don't even want people to know what I do. It's just like, what does this guy even do? And so, it's funny. Even these other traders or groups or like these like networking things, you'll never see me at them. You'll never see me really being a part of them.
That's interesting.
And that's just more my personality. Like I care too much about living life and having fun with life and like actually enjoying my life. I think there's a lot of facade to those pieces that people like to make themselves look or appear a certain way. And I just don't care. But I will say what's cool about, I guess the way that we do approach it is that it's designed to learn it in a way to where you can do it on your own. A lot of these other groups, they teach you enough to kind of like get you involved, and they string you along like you need them.
Create the perpetuity.
For sure. And for us, it's like, no, like I want you to be independent as a day trader, even from me. Like we'll have the platform, we'll have all the help to make it easier for you. But like you're going to be able to go do exactly what I do without my help. And I, hope you stick around because it makes it easier with all the resources and community. And there's a lot of benefit to that. But that's where I feel like we have had so much success and people have actually like turned it into a legitimate skill set because we're not withholding information. We're not trying to string people along. It's like, no, like here's how you do it. Here's actually how to, find success, and we'll help you get there. So
that's really cool. No, it makes a lot of sense the way you run your platform based off of like what you want out of the skill set yourself. And I think that's such an interesting piece. And I love getting to pick guests, different experts in their field, because some people want to build as big as they can. And some people it's like, dude, I want to do everything I can for as much control as possible. And it's just, I don't know that there's any right or wrong. Like the more and more I go down the rabbit hole of business success, life, fitness, philosophy, faith, it's just, there's so much more gray than I think people want to like admit. And there's a lot less like true black and white. And there's situational things for situational people. Like we're really complex beings.
100%. And I will say too, like, I'm not the guy where it's like, yeah, I just want to skate by and, make enough to have freedom. It's like, I make a lot of money trading. Business makes a lot of money. So
that's
like, the wealth is there.
There's pursuit, there's goals
for sure. And like, that is definitely a piece of it. But to me, and I've felt this way since literally as soon as I could formulate the thought of this, is that what is the point? You have all this money, you have all this stuff, but you don't get to do what you want to do. You have to spend time with people you don't want to be spending time with. Like, like if you asked a 5-year-old kid, would you rather spend time with your friends all day or with people you don't really like? They would say, my friends. Okay. Would you rather play all day or would you rather work all day? I would rather play. Again, it's like who we are. And I feel like the world kind of pushes this agenda of, and maybe this is coming because I go on these crazy trips. Like I'll go to the jungles of Colombia and Venezuela where we're living in a hut. We're living with village people, eating piranha and drinking river water. But like these people are happy. They genuinely are happier than a lot of the millionaires I know here in Utah that I like work with and associate. It's crazy. So yeah, to me, wealth, if you don't have freedom, you're not wealthy. Like I don't care how much you make. If you're answering to someone, if you have to do things and you have to be with people you don't want to be with, that's not true wealth or true freedom in like my opinion, right?
No, I completely agree with that. I think I talk about this with my wife all the time. Like I want to go as big as possible, but there's principles and guidelines and boundaries that I'm not like willing to step out of to go to levels. Like I have to find a way to make it work inside the limits that I set for my family, my time, my future.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's great. And everyone's different. Some people are driven by that, the status, the networks, the people they're interacting with. I interact with plenty of very big, cool people, but like, I have friends that are worth, a couple $1 billion, and I have friends like equally just as good of best friends who make, $28,000 a year painting houses. And I like spending time with both of them equally. And it's because to me, it's more so who's genuine, who is not putting on, a front, and day trading is cool in that sense because it's no respecter of persons, right? We have 18-year-olds trading with us. We have people who have just recently retired. We have stay-at-home moms. I have professors who trade with us before they go teach universities. We have people who have just sold their businesses for $200 million trading with us. It really is a universal, one of those universal languages that like we can all win together. We can all benefit together, which is another really cool piece of it.
That is cool. I would be remiss if we didn't cover some of these things. You've mentioned a handful of times, I know we're jumping all over, but this is fascinating. Risk management and some principles that you learned. And so you're looking at technical things kind of in your just most basic framework. Like what are some of the things that you do? Because everybody out there hears day trading, right? And it's either like, they're like you and they're like, dude, nothing will stop me, or this is a scam. There's no way you can make money doing this. It's way too risky. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. So what are the things that you guys, some of your framework to mitigate risk, or how do you like systematize that?
For sure. So all day trading is it's being extremely good at losing, right? Being really good at losing and understanding that you don't have to be right every time. So the basic way I explain to people, if you know nothing else, if you don't join Uncommon Education, you never take any type of professional training, if you live by this one principle, you will make money in the stock market. Guaranteed 100% of the time, okay? Let's say you have $100 that you want to put into a trade. If in the trade, let's say your goal is to profit $30 to $40 on that $100, and you are willing to risk $10 to $15, right, to make that 30 to 40. Meaning, if it goes against you, $10 to $15, you're going to exit for a loss. But if it wins, you're going to take profit once you're up $30 to $40. With a 50% win rate, right? You lose 15, you make 30. You lose 20, you win 40. You lose 15, you make 40. With a 50% win rate, you will be profitable. And with a losing win rate, less than 50% win rate, you will be break even. You won't lose money in the market, right? So what happens is you do find some strategies where you're right 8, 9 times out of 10 with that proper reward to risk ratio.
Yeah.
That's where you see these exponential numbers and crazy growth, right? And so that principle is what we teach and live by. The strategies that are these high win rate strategies is where, we teach and what, I developed over the years of doing it. I've been trading now for 8 years.
Wow.
So 3 years of sucking and, 5 years now of doing pretty good with it. And so
in the last 5 years, you're kind of full time. Like that's been how you provide income, right?
Yeah, so I was the VP of sales at a pest control company up until a couple years ago. Was doing both, was running Uncommon, and it just got to the point where it was an awesome company, had a great setup, like for all intents and purposes in the door-to-door sales world, it was like what you strive to get to, and kind of had all that, but it just didn't make sense anymore. I was making too much trading, the other business was going well, and what they needed and what they wanted, I knew I really wasn't willing to give or do at that point.
That's cool.
And so it was a very, good mutual, departure, I guess we could say. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just the reality of it doesn't take much in the market to get to the point because of the way that we teach it, right? Where it's as risky as you make it. If you want to treat it like a casino, you can 100%. You can throw money in, which is what most people do. These people are like, I'm a day trader. It's like, no, you're not. I have a question or I have a conversation with someone for 4 seconds and I can tell if they're a day trader or not.
Totally bogus.
Yeah, complete degenerate, right? Just gambler. And I love gambling, but there's a difference between right, trading with an edge and a strategy and just throwing money in the market. So yeah, that's one piece from a technical standpoint, just having proper reward to risk ratios. And then a few other things that we look at are price action. So there's ways to interpret price action where you can actually identify whether buyers or sellers are taking control of the stock price at any given moment with some other indicators, things like volume, some moving averages, things like that. There's a lot of things in the market that kind of give you clues. And the best way I can describe how I was able to figure these things out is they're not directly correlated, but there is a uncorrelated cause and effect. Kind of like if a hurricane hits Florida, Home Depot's sales are going to increase that month.
Gotcha.
That is not a direct cause and effect, but it is a cause and effect, indirect, right? And that's what I've been able to find at the market is like, there's no direct correlation between price going this direction and this indicator, but when the price does this and the indicator does that, the effect, cause and effect is this. And so that's without getting too much into it, essentially what we do.
That's cool. And just when you have people, right, like you're teaching this, and I know you came from the sales world first, which develops a lot of emotional grit. I would say trading maybe even requires more.
Oh, way more.
Because you can get your ass kicked for 6 hours on cold calls or cold doors, and then I just need 2 and I'm gonna make 2 G's today. Like we're good, but you're not fronting money in ad spend or in trade positions when you're out selling. So walk me through like how are you developing for students, because I feel like that has to be a crazy critical piece of actually winning in the game.
100%. So like these masterminds we do, these 5-week programs, we spend a few weeks learning the actual strategies. They're actually quite simple. And the other 3 weeks
just
on the psychology, right? And there's a few major emotional flaws. There's 3 in particular that we try to like help people with. We bring in like professional psychologists into it, help you understand why your brain,
why you're impulsive as hell.
Here's the reality is trading exposes you. If you want to know who you are, like if you want to genuinely know who you are, start day trading, and it will expose the hell out of you. It will show you every major flaw you have. So number 1 is greed, right? It's one of the most easy human emotions, greed, right? Not selling when you're supposed to, or if you're in a losing trade, holding and hoping that it's going to turn around, so greed, number 1. Number 2 is patience. If you ask anyone, yeah, I'm a pretty patient person. No, you're not. I promise you're not. Because when you get in the market and there's all these things going on and your emotions are high, right? Patience is, Warren Buffett talks about it, right? All the stock market is the transfer of wealth from the impatient to the patient. That's all it is. It is the impatient.
Yeah.
They lose their money to those who are patient, right? And then the third, and this is what's so funny, because I have so many friends who are so much smarter than I am, so much smarter. They have their masters, they've got their this, and they come in and be like, oh yeah, dude, I took this derivatives class from Brigham Young University. And I'm like, okay, like let's see what you got. But people who care about money, okay, people who care about money, they get smoked in the market, right? I always tell people, so when I first got married, I was living in this cabin with like well water. You couldn't even shower with it. It smelled so bad. Just this nasty place. I was just as happy then with literally no money. I was making like $15 an hour at this job as I am now with, the house, the cars, the travel, whatever.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's really easy for me to trade in the market, because whether I lose money or make money, I don't really care. And that's just the reality. But those who like know to the cent what they have in their account every minute of every day and have this like weird emotional attachment to money, they have a really hard time in the stock market, because the reality is you are using money and risking money to make money, right? Your money is essentially your employees. And so that's a huge thing that we have to teach people, kind of deconstruct that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're gonna light some money on fire throughout this process, and you're gonna lose some, and it's gonna hurt. But you got to understand that, again, if you just stay disciplined, when you stick with it, it will actually make you way more than you could ever have imagined. But it's a hard, concept to grasp for most people.
That's an interesting, you brought that up, because I see that true. And I know you're come from a very similar space to what I operate in too. I think you see the same thing kind of in any industry. And you brought it up, and I think people may hear it wrong. Not that you or I don't care about money. Like we want to make good income, and we do things. It's when your identity is attached to your current economic status, dollars in bank account, I'm worth. That's when people get stressed and the emotions come in, because it's like, if I have to go back, like if you had to go back to the place where the water stinks and you're like, dude, that wouldn't be preference, but like I could do it. Like, cool. Like if we have to sell the house and the cars and do the stuff, like, yeah, like we can handle that. But there's a lot of people who can't, right?
100%. And that's what's hard for me, right? Because I get to run in some pretty crazy circles. Just the other day I was golfing in Palm Springs, flew in a private jet, and Mark Wahlberg was hitting balls right next to me on the range. David Goggins comes running by with his shirt off.
That's dope.
We're just like, I'm playing with Michael Jordan's fishing buddy and one of Donald Trump's like right hand guys. Like it's just that world is pretty crazy. But what's so funny is most people who like actually are wealthy or who are actually in a good spot, you'd never know. Right. And they don't try to portray that. And so that's where I have an issue, is when people are like, they believe their worth is, based on the dollar amount in their bank account or based on their success in business. And to me, it has so little to do with that. Like, obviously you will naturally, the more you become that, you will interact with more people like that. But the people like I want to go watch a football game with, or the people that I want to hang out with, grabbing drinks after the round, they're the guys where it's like, he could be worth 100 million. He could be making 100,000 a year. I don't know. And I don't care. Yeah. And in trading, that's the mentality that succeeds. And I think just in life in general, those are the guys who get ahead, because they make decisions based off of what's right, as opposed to how can I get out of this, right? Those who typically give more than they're, wanting to receive usually get more at the end. So.
No, I've seen that a lot. I've had this conversation with so many people who are like, I want to make more. And my advice has always been, it's like, hey, you should need to want to impact more. Like it's got to be attached to something. The wealthiest people in the world, the goal wasn't 100, a billion. And some people do have that, like they can stay motivated on cash alone to a point. But the wealthiest people, like there was nothing that Zuckerberg can do at 200 billion that he couldn't do at 500 million. Like
Exactly.
it was about the machine, the industry, the competition, the domination, the program to the whole world, right? Like there's got to be something else that you're chasing, and the byproduct of impacting thousands, hundreds, or millions of people is going to be astronomical economic resources, just because that's what happens if you can impact enough lives.
100%. And I think even on a small scale, right, like Uncommon Education Trading, I had no desire to even start a trading group, right? Like I said, it was a very selfish reason to trade. I wanted freedom for me, no one else, right? But then I grew up with not a ton, didn't grow up super wealthy. Again, wasn't well educated in any way, shape, or form. And so it kind of got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this not because like I see this huge financial opportunity. I mean, I for sure saw it, but I'm like, I'm going to start this because yeah, I'm going to help these guys who are just miserable, working 60 hours a week, making absolute peanuts. I'm going to help them cut back and only have to work 30 hours a week. Or I'm going to help so-and-so make money in the off season of doing sales where he may not have to go out the next year. Or I'm going to help that stay-at-home mom where she can go, get her nails done and go get a massage once a week where maybe she wouldn't, And so it's funny. Like I can genuinely say that was the reason for it, more of a noble purpose, I guess, from me starting to day trade. And I think that's why it's done so well, is because we don't approach it from like, hey, big money grab, or hey, let's overcharge. It's more like, no, like, yes, we'll be compensated for it, but like we want to provide something that like actually impacts people and actually like helps their lives. And I have some crazy cool examples of people over the last few years that, I mean,
dude, I would love, I think for people to hear, and I think this is such an important piece. I'm a really, really big, and I know you probably run into this all the time too. Unfortunately, real estate, day trading, sales, for every legitimate person that you should pay to coach you and mentor, there's probably 100 scams that have never sold, never traded, aren't currently doing deals. You're currently trading like this. You're currently making your income from executing in this space. And you run Uncommon, you teach people. What are some of the results like that you guys have had? Like fill us in on somebody who's actually like learned and built into this lifestyle.
Yeah, I'll share a few of my favorite from this last year, 2023. So one, I talk about this guy a lot. His name's Dave. I think he's 69, 68 years old. Lives out in Minnesota. I've never met him, but we're like homies. I'm actually going out in the spring to go fishing with him and his wife. He invited me out. It's so awesome.
That's dope.
Wait. But yeah, he had retired, had a 401k pension, right? Like the whole just kind of budgeted out. And over the last 7 months, he hasn't had to touch his 401k just because of his trading profits.
Wow.
He's going on Alaskan cruises with his wife. They're doing these like weekend getaways, these bed and breakfast, and he is just like living it up. And he didn't make a ton of money throughout his life, and it's just like, man, how cool is that? Like literally the tail end of this guy's life, he is able to live in a way that he couldn't even have dreamed of because of day trading, right? So there's one example. Another cool example, not from a monetary standpoint. A few days ago, I had someone message me, never met him, and he's like, "Hey man, just want to let you know I've been in the group for 6 months. I've been making money, pulling profits pretty regularly on a monthly basis, but the discipline of day trading and kind of learning about myself. I've been an alcoholic my whole life, and the last 6 months I've been sober since joining your course." And
that's cool.
That type of stuff definitely did not expect, but really cool to see that. Yeah, like trading, it actually helps become a better person because you do learn why your brain works the way it does. You do learn about impulses and about ignoring what you should or shouldn't do. And so that's a really cool aspect. One of my good friends here in Utah, he builds homes up in Midway, Park City area. He didn't know what trading was a year ago. He's now looking to sell his business.
No way.
Trade full time. He's making between $50,000 and $60,000 a month trading with us.
Goodness gracious.
He's 25 years old, right? Just absolutely crazy. So there's a lot of really cool examples, and there's a lot of cool, success stories. But the overarching theme that we hear from people is it just gives them a reason to get excited on a day-to-day basis. It gives them a reason to get up early in the morning, gets them motivated, something that like they're building for themselves. They're not going to work for someone else. They're not building someone else's dream. It's like, dude, this is so cool. I'm learning a skill set that's for me, that no one can take away from me.
It's never going away. The arena, the stock market isn't going to disappear.
If the stock market goes away,
we all go away.
Dead anyway.
Yeah,
it's zombie apocalypse.
Jesus is coming. It's all irrelevant anyway, man.
Exactly. And so until then, as long as the market's around, and especially with our strategies, they're so unbiased, right? If market's going great, we're happy to make money on the way up. If the market's tanking, we're happy to make money as things come back down. But it's just a skill set that's yours, and I love that because it's not dependent on anyone, anything.
It's cool.
It's you, it's your skill, and no one can take it away from you. And so yeah, we do have quite a few cool success stories here at Uncommon.
That's so sick. Well, I honestly, that's a great place to transition, just teeing up for just closing up today. Kind of just in closing, dude, I've actually taken some notes. I hope all you guys listening, there's a lot of stuff that Jeremy said. I know when I first got into this arena, just anything business investing my whole life, everything that's helped me. When you hear stuff that you do not understand, just dig into it. Go research. Go follow Jeremy. Go pour into this stuff. Go look at podcasts, YouTube. Like, there's so much unbelievable free stuff out there to explore and find out if it's a good track for your real estate or stock and options, all these different things, or even Jeremy's program itself, Uncommon. But for everybody listening, Jeremy, where can people keep track of you, get access to you, or even maybe like apply to potentially use your resources or your programs?
For sure. So we try to make things incredibly simple, right? Like I say, I'm a simple guy. Don't want it to ever seem anything that it's not. I am very much a guy like what you see is what you get. That's just kind of how I've always been. So on social media, my personal account's Jeremy Lieber, but we do most of our stuff on Instagram. Uncommon Education Trading is our account. We have a bunch of fake accounts, so we're just Uncommon Education Trading, no capital or spaces or anything. Our website is uncommoneducationtrading.com. And we have different programs from like entry-level monthly memberships where you kind of go through course content on your own and learn it at your own pace, to full-blown like VIP mastermind mentorships, one that we're doing right now. But I would suggest, whether it's through me or someone else, find something that is set up as a program, because if you just YouTube day trading, it is so overwhelming. And like I say, it's
a
just
black hole.
Complete chaos, black hole, so many conflicting things, so many different things. And maybe you take a course and it kind of points you in the direction of another way, or you join ours and say, hey, I actually like what this guy's doing. But start somewhere where they have like a comprehensive A to Z type platform, because with us, that's what we do. I mean, everything from setting up your account the right way, going through what in the world trading is, the strategies, basic fundamental risk management pieces. And there's a lot of groups out there that are good, but I would recommend not signing up for alert services, right? Of like, hey, buy here, sell here. Those are the guys that actually don't trade, right? Those are the guys who are just trying to money grab typically. But yeah, it's something that if you're interested in learning more about, I'm always open for chats too, so you can message me directly. I am a believer that everyone should learn this as just a fundamental understanding of money, because it teaches you what's actually possible, right? How stupid it is to keep money in a savings account, how stupid it is to, put money in these like incredibly low yielding year over year investments when you could just learn a little bit and do so much more. And again, I think there's a lot of kind of control that comes from that. But yeah, that's a little bit about where you can find me, where you can find what we do. And it's something that even if you don't end up learning to day trade itself, you will never regret learning how the stock market works and how to make money from the market.
I love that, dude. I love that you finish on that, because I think obviously Purpose Podcast, all you guys that listen every time we put an episode out, that's something I'm so big on, that the technical skills they're always extremely important, but breaking the psychology of the middle class and what the way you view money, it's not gold, it's not oil, it's an idea. And the wealthiest people and the most free people understand that it moves, it transfers, it's a metric of trade. You got to use it. It's not just like this store in a hole in your backyard. Like, it's not, you got to get out of that mindset. But
100%.
I think everybody learning about the stock market is a crazy value add to their life.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, if you looked at my bank account and viewed like what my worth is or like where my money is, like you would think I probably have less money in my bank account than everyone listening to this podcast. I keep literally no money in my bank account, only if I need to, because it's not that's not the way you're supposed to do it. So
Love that. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, Jeremy, dude. There's so many good takeaways. For all you guys listening, make sure to go give Jeremy a follow and tap into his resources. I follow him. That's how we came in contact. I've just been paying attention to stuff. He's a stud, and he's just a salt of the earth human being. Great freaking dude. So I appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
No problem. All right, we'll catch you next time on The Money Game.
Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on social media.
Real money. Real money? Money is the answer.
Y'all be cool. And we'll see you next time on The Money Game.
Money. Yes!